Before we start tonight's program, this is a reminder that this episode will address various topics related to addiction, and also a reminder about multiple sclerosis. Some of these may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion, as always, is advised. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and/or mental health regime. If you're looking for options with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. Service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Importantly, if you're feeling suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. It's 1-800-273-8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. Those resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year as well. And then let's discuss something that has been near and dear to my heart over the last 13 months and, quite frankly, the last 11 years, and now multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such flare-ups disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867. Or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. As I was doing last year, I am participating in the Walk MS this year in Media, Pennsylvania. That'll be held on April 23rd, 2022. I'm raising money for this venture through A Venture to a Cure's website, which is the name of our fundraising team, A Venture to a Cure. So that'd be rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. Once again, rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. Thank you for all of you who have raised money for this amazing organization or have even gone to the National MS Society to learn more about multiple sclerosis and demyelination. It touches me and over the 1 million people in this country who have multiple sclerosis in so many ways. And we appreciate all of you. And on that, let's begin. Tonight we talk about something a bit different. Somewhat related, but different. Since we started the show, we talked about the weight loss journey. 310 plus pounds over 3+ years. We talked about sobriety and overcoming the depths of alcoholism. I'm going to be 3 years sober come May. We talked about my battles with compulsive gambling. 2+ years next month. But now we're talking about how we excel to the next level. And that's when running comes into the picture. There are two people near and dear to me that run. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about why it makes sense for me to start running now. And we're going to talk about what my plans are 3 weeks from now, but moreover, what my plan is in October. This is The Venture Forward. Good evening, once again, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to the Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering addict of overeating, obesity, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling, and it is an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and a Venture to a Cure's fundraising page that we will be doing for the next 2 months in broadcast with the fundraising effort. We are live streaming the Venture Forward and VF Talks over there as well, and it's a pleasure to see all of you tonight. So I'm running. When did this happen? It certainly wasn't happening 3 years ago when I could barely walk 3 feet. Or barely walk, 13 feet. Now I'm looking to run 13.1 miles. So it's amazing what 3 years have brought. It's amazing what the weight loss journey has produced. It's amazing me identifying the things that were holding me back and making a concerted plan to get rid of them. And now it's turned into this. It's turned into basically doing something that I could have never possibly done in my life. That's what this running is about. I'm physically able to do it outside of maybe a little plantar fasciitis and other things, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it has really become a journey, and it's really become something for me to shoot for and really try to achieve. But before we start talking about that story, I want to say hello to all of you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and who wins the door prize tonight. That would be Jamie over on YouTube, who says, "Evening." Good evening, Jamie. Hope you're doing well. We also have Marilyn on YouTube, who says, "Hi, JV," and Jamie with 3 purple hearts and 3 waves. We also have Laura on YouTube, who is giving us hearts of many different colors: a purple heart, orange heart, red heart, and blue heart. Muchly thanks to you. Much love back at you. And we also have Dr. Elo. You say hello. You say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello. Good to see you, Elo. How you doing? Long time no see, my friend. Let's see. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? We talk about why running, why now, why not? And honestly, before we can get started on that, let's just a small reminder again about the Walk MS Media 2022 that's going on April 23rd in Media, Pennsylvania, raising money for that cause. Again, rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. My inspirations, as I mentioned in the open before we got to the countdown, there are two people that really are inspirations to me as far as why I'm running. One would be my cousin Ian. Ian has run a handful of New York City marathons. He went from a world of not running to a world where he's racing towards Central Park to the finish line 7 times. The amazing thing about him is he's always had that funny joke and that whimsical way about life. Hardworking man, works for New York City, but he also helped me at a time where I was far away and was incredible with respect to my dad. When things were its grimmest, my cousin was there for me, and I love him dearly. Outside of the fact that he's an amazing person, he's an amazing runner. He just goes out there and does it. He's not the fastest, but he is going out there and doing it, and he inspires me. And I look at him and I say, oh, if I had just an ounce of the energy this guy has, I can do a lot better with my life. Ian, I look up to you, man, and I love you. The other inspiration was someone we talked about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on the show. And we're going to put air quotes because that's not her name, but we're going to refer to her anyway. It's to my dearest friend, Rebecca. Half marathons are one of her joys in this incredible life of hers. Outside of being an incredible author, an incredible purveyor of numbers, an incredible baker, and an incredible friend, she has taught me how much of a requisite adrenaline rush running is. She started taking up running at a time where she was going through transitions in her life. She looked at the solace of running to say, okay, I can do this. I can definitely run half marathons. I am definitely confident in doing that. I may not be the fastest, but I am definitely fast. I know I am. And I'm going to do it. And she does it. And she does a handful of them. And I look up to her and I say, wow, this is someone who has a very busy day-to-day life, takes up a lot of interests like writing and whatnot, but then she's running. And I look up to her. She is absolutely amazing, just like my cousin Ian. I look up to her and I love her dearly as well. The key here is I hope I make both of them proud of my endeavors this year and going forward. I will never run as many marathons and half marathons as the two of them do. But if I can get one, if I could cross the finish line on one of them or a handful of them, I hope I hope I've made them proud, because I know I certainly will have made myself proud just by crossing that finish line. But they definitely are inspirations in this life. Some questions as I was going through this trip down memory lane, but also a reason why they are definitely inspirational to me. Question about how often do I experience runner's high? I will get to that in a couple minutes, for sure. I'll address it now. A lot. There was a time 2 weeks ago when I was on a long run, and I was only set to go out 6 miles, and it ended up becoming 8 because by mile number 7, I said, I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep on going. And I did. I got another couple of miles out of it. So runner's high is very much a real thing. I think of the endorphins that are generated, that sort of adrenaline rush as we run. It very much is a real thing. So there is such an animal as runner's high. Let's see who else. We have Easy from Australia who says, hey peeps, Easy, hope you're doing well. He joins us on YouTube. And Jamie, the pun is absolutely right with my cousin Ian. He does work hard for the running. He's an amazing guy. And I hope at some point I could have Ian on the show to talk about why he got into running, but moreover, just to be on the show. He is an incredible guy and I love him. One more comment just popped up. Jamie says, I ask because when I first got into exercises and got on a treadmill, I get so fast, but then that declines and then it comes back. It ebbs and flows. We'll talk about the phenomenon of splits in about 10 to 15 minutes and how important coming up with a game plan for splits when you go out for a run absolutely is. And it's contrary to popular belief. As far as I'm about to run a race, I have to hit the ground running. That's not necessarily true, especially when the objective is different for many different people. It's not what you do in mile 1. It's what happens in mile 5, in mile 7, in mile 9, in mile 11, in mile 13, and certainly that last 0.1 for sure. So I guess that brings me to the next question. Why now? There are many different things I can do since I've lost the weight. Why was running that sort of source that I was gravitating to? Why did I feel the need that I can run a long distance in a body that was much bigger than what it was? And I think it's because I can spend at least, and this is no joke, at least 2 to 4 hours at the gym, whether I'm doing strength training or high intensity interval training or cardio or whatnot. Well, if I could spend 2 to 4 hours doing that, why couldn't I work towards something that gets me involved with other people, gets me involved with the community, gets me involved with a race, gets me involved to do something that puts some sort of aura of fun about it? Because races are fun. Those sort of tests of physical ability is absolutely a fun thing. Why now? Now because I can. 3 years ago, absolutely not. And as I said in the intro, even a year ago, there was no way I could have done that. Now is the time. And if I have the ability to do it now, I'm going to do it now. The other thing is, and we liken this to the last conversation we had about multiple sclerosis. Because of the fragile nature of our central nervous system and the immunocompromised disorder known as demyelination and multiple sclerosis, if we have the ability to do something, the best thing we can do is do it, and not lose that ability. My gait isn't the greatest. That is due to a multiple of reasons. One, I broke my ankle 32 years ago now. But also, ever since the demyelination, my gait hasn't been perfect. But I do have the ability to run. I do have the ability to work out. My form isn't the greatest, but I have the ability to do it. And it's not like I'm not going to see my PCP. And it's not like I'm going to see my chiropractor. I do. And I have their constant console on all of this. So, yeah, if I have the ability to do it, I'm absolutely going to do it. Some tips out of the annals of runner's world. Kind of the things that are keeping in the back of my mind. And there are more tips coming up soon. But the first thing is trust your plan, don't overtrain. What is interesting about that is, because this came up in relatively short fashion, 11 weeks, not a long 13 or 20 week cycle, there was a bit of intercession in all of this. There was a bit of trying to cram a lot of this together. It's not that I wasn't training prior to that. It's not like I wasn't going to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. But to cram some of this together was definitely an interesting thing. Is it overtraining? It's borderline. That's being honest. I think going forward, when there's a big race on the calendar, there will be a lot more preparation, and we'll get to exactly what I mean by that in about 15, 20 minutes. The next step is getting ready for the distance. So understanding it's a 13.1 mile race. Understanding that 13.1 miles is not going to take me 20 minutes. It's not going to take anybody 20 minutes. It's going to take me more like 3 hours. So getting ready for the distance, but also getting ready for what sort of form I need to hold in those 13.1 miles. If you think about 13.1 miles, let me draw this to some sort of parallel for a second. If you think of the length of a typical high school track around a football field, it's usually a quarter mile, right? Quarter mile going around. So if we're looking at a 13.1 mile race, well, if we go around that oval 4 times, that's 1 mile. If we go over that oval 52 times and a little bit extra, that would be a half marathon, because a half marathon is 13.1 miles, or roughly over 21K. So if we wanted to draw some sort of isomorphism or some sort of picture of how long a distance that is, that's how long a half marathon is. The next thing is very interesting, and we'll actually dissect that a bit in a few minutes. Run, then race. Run, then race is exactly that. You're running. Everybody around you, they're running as well. They're going to be faster. They're going to be slower. Run your race, right? You're there to run your race. It's you versus the course. That's what we're doing. Run, then race. The next one would be reining it in. So if you find that you're running way too fast, that you may not have enough energy towards the end of the race, you do have to rein it in. Using your head, then your heart, yes. So you're constantly thinking about your splits. You're constantly thinking about the time that you're encompassing in running. I'll have my watch on, of course, but keeping an eye on the time, keeping an eye on how I feel, understanding my perceived effort. Your energy sort of exerted. So on a 1 to 10 scale, if that thing's up to 8, 9, 10, and it's early in the race, that thing's got to come down. Does that mean slow down? Absolutely. So being very well aware of our exerted effort, in addition to how much distance is left in the race, or the course, or the run rather. No new fuel on race day, meaning don't do anything ridiculous like go to carb heaven the night before and eat all the pizza and all the pasta. No new fuel on race day, meaning eat sensibly. And actually, that carries over to the day before, meaning you don't want to go run such a long distance on a very loaded and bloated sort of existence. So no new fuel on race day. The next one is the reason why we do this anyway. Take it all in. I'm going to be running some of the most beautiful greenways in the mid-Atlantic, in that of Cary, North Carolina. If you're not taking all these sort of pictures in and understanding exactly what's going on and not enjoying it for what it is, then why are you doing this in the first place? Take it all in. And if that's not going to be evident on March 27th, it's definitely going to be evident on October 1st, and I'll explain exactly why in moments. And then lastly, getting ready for what's next, because there is going to be something next. So just staying true to the course, staying true to your race, running your own race, and enjoying it. What's very interesting is there is no expectation. There's one expectation for me. One expectation. And I'll say this a couple more times in this episode. Just finish the darn race. Just finish it. I'm not looking to beat anything. I'm looking to try to get in within the time limit of the race, which is 3 hours. But finish it. Finish the race. Over on YouTube, we have Teeter Time, who says, hello, hello. Hello to you. Hope you're doing well. So outside of that, those are 8 tips that I'm thinking about with respect to the race. Which brings me to what I was about to say. Just finish the race. Because if we're going to be technical for a second, and let's do that. My personal best for a half marathon is infinity. I never run one before. So whatever time I place, provided I finish the race, will be my personal best. All I have to do is, everybody now, finish the race. So there you go. That's why finishing the race is most important. It gives me a sense of, 1, I can actually do this. But 2, I know how fast it takes me to do that, so I know what to improve upon. So now maybe in a 20-week training plan, I have something targeted to try to run faster then, for sure. Jamie says, JV, you will finish the race. You can do it. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. So there's the story of Cary, so a town in the middle of the Research Triangle down in North Carolina. I'm running a half marathon on Sunday, March 27th, which is right around the corner. It's 19 days from now. I am counting every single day. But then there's a Portland Marathon on Saturday, October 1st. Both races I'm signed up for. Half marathon in Cary on Sunday, March 27th. Full marathon in Portland on Saturday, October 1st. I'm laughing because I'm actually saying this and it's coming out of my mouth and I paid the registration fees. This is happening. I have a little bit of time to prepare for Portland. But what's going to happen on March 27th is going to give me an idea of how much time it takes me to run half the distance of Portland. I'm going to go to Maine for a second. 2 different courses. The Portland course is a lot more hilly. It is not a greenways course. There are streets, there are bridges. There's that going on. In the Cary half marathon, it is greenways. There are a lot of park bridges. There are a lot of greenway bridges. There are a lot of trees. A lot more off the road, right by a state park sort of race than Portland, which is in the city of Portland. And it goes by major monuments and major landmarks in Portland, Oregon. So there is a difference in the 2 races, for sure. Running a half marathon in Cary is not necessarily a half benchmark for what I can do in Portland. But if I can, and when I can, operative words, when I can, then it allows me to know that I can run half the distance and I can train myself to run the full distance of Portland. Couple of comments. Marilyn says, there is no doubt you will conquer this race. We're already looking to the next one. Another thing to put on your board. We love you and you inspire us all. Thank you, Marilyn. I love you too. Very much. Jamie has a question. Do you plan to celebrate in any way after finishing the race? I think it's going to be as simple as getting in my car, driving back to my room at the Hyatt Place Cary. Shameless plug for the Hyatt Place Cary. Great hotel. Shameless plug, even in this. Using foam roller, taking a warm shower, and just decompressing. Hopefully getting a massage. Hopefully just taking some R&R the next 12 hours, 24 hours, just to get back to feeling like a normal human being after running 13.1 miles. For someone who has never run 13.1 miles before. So that's a game plan. Truth be told, my friends know that I'm going to be in the area and I have a dear person coming down to Cary with me as well. So when I do cry bloody murder, at least I have someone bearing witness to this. So she can either laugh or help. And she does both. That's fantastic. She can do either one. Oh, man. JB says, hey, self-care is celebration. Absolutely. And Teeter says, recovery homework. Yeah, I got meeting with sponsor at the top of the hour. Well, Teeter, enjoy that meeting. Glad you're here. Glad you're here for tonight's episode. And appreciate all you do, my friend. So everybody's wondering, what about this race in Cary? What does it look like? Do you have a map? Fortunately, I do. It looks something like this. It is a back and forth sort of race. So it starts in the middle of Metro Park, over in the eastern end of Cary, and it runs across the greenways. A lot of, wonderful areas of trees on mostly paved road. Across, and basically you going down and back for a total of 13.1 miles, finishing the race in the middle of Bond Metro Park. So it's a beautiful, beautiful race, beautiful looking scene. And is it the arduous sort of hills of what we will see in Portland come October? No, but it can stand to be a challenge too. And I must never underestimate the challenge that Cary is going to provide me in 19 days. But that is the map. Let's talk about time for a second. So I put some selected times up there, not every single time of training runs and whatnot in the last 2 months. But it talks to some sort of progression, but there is also a very important thing come February 24th that had me contemplating whether or not to run a half marathon or downgrading my entry to a 10K. And there was a very important data point last night. So my original estimate for 5.5 miles was about 59 minutes, nearly an hour. I was doing about 35 minutes for 3.5 miles for a training, 3.16 miles for a 39-minute run for Tabatas. So I was running, slowing, running, slowing, running, slowing. 8 miles for a $1:40. You can see all the times on the right-hand side. The calf strain changed things up a bit because I feel a bit of a tinge first in my left calf and then a few days later in my right calf. And I've been going to see my chiropractor, who is also a runner, knows exactly what's going on, understands plantar fasciitis, knows exactly what to do to get me to at least be better as far as alignment with respect to running step, and giving me a few things to keep in mind with respect to the run. Last night I ran a 9-mile run. 9-mile long run. So there are 3 kinds of runs that we do in training. There are the long runs, which is once a week. There are training runs, which is close to your pace. And then there's trial runs, or basically interval runs. Also, I call Tabatas, because you're running, then you're slowing. You're running, then you're slowing. Then you're running, then you're slowing. Last night, I ran 9 miles in 1:51:33, which is right on par for the course time limit of 3 hours. You think course time limit is 3 hours for 13.1 miles. To do 9 miles in 1:51:33 puts me in the ballpark. And again, the goal of this is to just finish the race. Tonight, I'm going to be training for 5 miles. I'll be doing intervals. On Wednesday, I'll be doing Tabatas 3 miles. Friday is another training run. And then Saturday is my longest run yet. Saturday, I'm doing a 10-mile run. That's going to give me a pure indicator on how ready I am for the extra 3.1 on top. Because you think about it this way, if you can run 10 miles, then you certainly can run a 5K on top of it, because a 5K is 3.11 miles. Get yourself to 10 miles. If you get yourself to 10 miles, then you can run the 3.11 on top, and then you have, alas, a half marathon. So that's basically the timing question. It's a bit of a science, and I got to be honest, it feels a bit like intercession because a lot of this was jammed together. But it makes sense knowing what I've done previously and how I'm getting ready for this. Certainly, the training regimen for Portland is going to be a lot more drawn out. There may be races in the middle of that. So running a 5K as a train day, running a 10K as a train day, maybe even running a half marathon along that training regimen as a train day. But as we get closer and I start finding events, I will start crafting that particular schedule. Couple of points. Jamie says right on Teeter as far as his the recovery homework. Yes, right on for sure. Marilyn also says happy Teeter that you got your sponsor. I was wondering. You're doing great work there, Teeter. Very proud of you, man. Jamie says chiropractor runner coming to a theater near you. Yes. Opening Friday. Jamie also asks 9 miles. Aren't you running after this too? Yeah, I'm running a 5-mile training run after this. And yeah, just answered the question. Catching up with comments over there. So those are some tips, but then there's some things that I need to keep in mind as well. Oh, Teeter has a quick comment. I'll let you do the running for me. I'll cheer you on. Thank you, Teeter. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's about 10, 11 tips here, but it's basically carryover from the tips we showed previously, but this is from runwithcarolyn.com. But the first tip is slow down. And then I add some commentary. Negative splits are our friend. Start slow and build into a comfortable pace. What do I mean by that? When the gun goes off and the race starts, our first thought is, oh, we're going to run as fast as we can and try to get momentum. And the honest truth is, that's the wrong move. We want to basically run a comfortable sort of pace in the beginning. Moving, obviously, even if it is a fast jog or a medium pace jog, just to get going. Shaking out the legs, shaking out the arms, getting a form. And then eventually, as you get into that form, you start running. It's called a negative split because a positive split would be very fast and then tinkering down to slow. This is going slow and then going faster as we go forward. There's another thought about a parabolic split, meaning, or a hyperbolic split, starting slow, going fast and slow, and then working that way. But when we talk about a negative split, we're talking slow first and gradually building. Jamie says, okay, but why hasn't anyone asked JV if he is tired? Because he's been running in their head all day. Why, people? Ha ha. 10 points. 10 points, Jamie. Oh, that's fantastic. The next piece is pace your run. There's a 3-hour time limit for the half marathon. So I got to keep that in mind. It ends up being something where I need to run a mile at bare minimum at about 13 and a half minutes a mile. For my training runs and for my long runs, I put a time limit. So when we go back to the fact that I ran a $1:10 for 9 miles, I did have a time limit of 116 minutes. And that is in compliance of the time limit for this half marathon. So when I paced my runs, especially for the rest of the time, the next 19 days, I'm very cognizant of the time limit that has been given to me and all the runners in Cary. Next one is something we talked about before. Don't compare yourself to others. My thought is you win just by being here, and to finish it is an accomplishment. If we turn back the clock 3 years, this is not happening at all. Running shoes are key. I have a pair of green Sauconys that I use, provided it's going to be a very clear and temperate day. Most of it is paved, so I could run those Sauconys on the pavement. You would change your running shoes like you would change your car tires. So the more races you do, the more working out you do in a pair of sneakers, you bear witness to that. And then when you've done way too much, then you go to, whether it's a sporting goods store or a shoe place or whatever to get new sneakers. You kind of take an eye at that for the mileage that you put into those sneakers and then changing accordingly. The next point is wearing the right gear and being prepared for any kind of weather. It is March, Sorry about that. So, late March in the research triangle is about as much a question mark as late March in Pennsylvania. It's about as questionable as late March in Maine, which is about as questionable as late March in Utah. Anything could happen, and usually does. So I'll be packing for 3 different kinds of weather for that race. I'm hoping for 75 and sunny. I'll see if I get lucky. But being prepared is definitely most important. Making sure that if it's raining, wearing, so basically sweatpants or workout pants, running pants rather, instead of just running shorts, that sort of thing. Also making sure that I'm not going to basically, have problems with skin later on. So being aware of that too. Making sure I'm prepared, making sure I have enough things packed in my running vest to use whatever, whenever, however. The next one was very interesting. Treat this like a long Sunday run. So whatever I end up doing on Sunday, or Saturday is my next long run, treat this race like it's a long run. There'll be other people participating in this, but, you obviously will follow the rules of etiquette. If you're running slow, you'll move towards the far right and let the people that are running faster run around you. But treat it like a long Sunday run. Next one would be hydration and electrolytes. Listening to your body. Does it mean taking a swig of water every half mile? Yeah, it does. Making sure you have electrolyte tabs for your water? Yes. Maybe carrying protein gel for 2 or 3 miles in, every 2 to 3 miles? Yes, that too. So being aware of what you need to eat or consume as you run. Also learning how to drink water and consume as you run. Some thoughts are just have all your protein and all of your hydration by way of fluid. That's also a way to do it. For me, it'll probably be gels and electrolyte water. Next one is something we referred to before as carb load. Doesn't mean eat all the pizza the night before. or 2 days before. You want to think about perfect carb sort of sources. You're looking at quinoa. You're looking at low fiber cereal. You're looking at whole wheat toast. Bananas for potassium. Protein bars. Pasta down to 1 cup, not a half metric ton. Because I know how much I love pasta. I'm Italian, what do you expect? So just eating cognizant of the fact that if I eat too much, it's not going to be good for 13.1 miles. Recovery is key, as we were kind of alluding to before. Foam rollers, stretching, massages after the race. And something akin to what we were saying before in the fact that enjoy the moment. You would have not been able to do this last year, let alone 3 years ago. Enjoy the moment. Going back to Maine for a second. Jamie says, it's just running really fast and then walking and then running fast again, just called intervals. Yeah, that's one way of doing intervals. Some intervals involve inclines as well. So there might be a hill that you may want to do intervals on. So you're going up a 4 or 5% or 10%, and then you're going down. So it's intervals could be based on incline, it could be based on speed, it could be based on both. But that's interval play or timed interval play for sure. Teeter says, that's why I was laughing at before, does running to the buffet count? Yeah, but you wouldn't be finishing the race then. And then, of course, the next one is, how about running a meeting? Yeah, that too. And then Teeter says, water, I've been drinking 44 ounce cups of water like crazy. Yeah. And remember that as you run and you're sweating, you are basically exerting a lot of that sweat. You're basically perspiring a lot of the hydration and the electrolytes. So you got to be very much cognizant of that and hydrate and basically equip yourself accordingly. And Jamie drinks a lot of aqua. If we weren't running races, the rule of thumb on water is 1 ounce for every 2 pounds of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces of water. So let's talk about this thing that's coming in October, shall we? Because when I finish the finish line, or when I get past the finish line in Cary on March 27th, the next thing I think about is this. The Portland Marathon. It is a very interesting course, to say the least. A very beautiful course, to say the least. I have some very dear friends in Portland that I know would be rooting me on, that are rooting me on for this. But this is a very, very important marathon for me. Outside of just the amazing vistas and bridges and greenery in Portland, as well as an incredible city life as well. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, Cary would be a metaphorical half baseline for Portland. But knowing full well that the sort of the topography of the Portland course is muchly different than what we have with the Cary Greenways on March 27th. I mean, before I get to language of letting go, I just wanted to bring up one point real quickly. You may be saying to yourself, hey, John, why are you running a half marathon in Cary, North Carolina? Why are you running a full marathon in Portland when there are a lot of other places you can run half marathons and full marathons? The half marathon in Cary is an homage to my friend Rebecca. It's also an homage to a lot of people, a lot of dear friends I have in the Research Triangle, in Raleigh, in Durham, and in Cary. So to run 13.1 miles is my way to be closer to them as I try to do something I've never done before. There is a rhyme and reason why Cary is where I'm running this first half marathon. And I'm definitely doing that. Not only for myself, obviously, but I'm doing it for them. And I'm just really blessed for all of them, for sure. And then why Portland? Well, same thing. I have a lot of dear friends who live in the Vancouver, Washington area, in the Portland, Oregon area, that I know, one, would love for me to move out there. That's another conversation for another show way down the road. But also would like to see me do this sort of thing out there too. And that's why my full marathon's out there. As far as my full marathon not being New York City, well, you have to qualify. You have to qualify for the New York City Marathon, whether you're a member of the New York City Roadrunners Club or other sort of invitational facets that you need to accomplish to get into the New York City Marathon. They have to be checked off. So running New York City was not going to happen for me this year in 22. I'm looking to see how I can make that happen for me in 23. And perhaps run a marathon with my cousin. Fingers crossed. Plenty of time between now and then. But that's the reason why Cary in 19 days. And it's the other reason why Portland on October 1st. This whole journey has been incredible because of the people that surround me. It's been incredible because of the new friendships I've made, the friendships that have hung on for so long and just have bolstered and strengthened and become incredible. Obviously, when you run, no pun intended, but obviously when you decide to make these sort of changes to your life, you have to be a one-man show or one-person show as far as keeping that love and strength inside and building that. I mean that. The more we build that, the more we can share that to anybody. But if you have a great community around you, and you have incredible friends and people you hold near and dear and people that you love and they love you back and then some, how can you go wrong? Especially when you've made a decided effort to change a lot of the things that have been pushing you back in the past. You're not that person who's having a nervous breakdown in the middle of Southwest Terminal at Raleigh-Durham Airport. You're someone who's running a half marathon in Cary, North Carolina. So, that said, let's do language of letting go. You know, the thing is, a lot of this sort of letting go of the past is surrendering. We think about being 480 pounds and not being able to walk more than 10 feet and having a nervous breakdown. And that decision to make that change had to happen after surrendering. So today's language of letting go for March 8th is about surrendering. Step 3 of Al-Anon says, as much as a lot of the other 12-step programs, but step 3 of Al-Anon says, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. What does that mean? Surrendering to a power greater than ourselves is how we become empowered. We become empowered in a new, better, more effective way than we believed was possible. Doors open. Windows open. Possibilities occur. Our energy becomes channeled at last in areas and ways that work for us. We become in tune with the plan for our life and our place in this universe. And there is a plan and place for us. We shall see that. We shall know that. The universe will open up and make a special place for us with all that we need provided. It will be good, understanding that it is good now. Learning to own our own power will come if we are open to it. We do not need to stop at powerlessness and helplessness. There is a temporary place where we reevaluate where we've been trying to have power, where we have none. Once we surrender, it is then time to become empowered. Let the power come naturally. It is there. It is ours. Today, I will be open to understanding what it means to own my power. I will accept powerlessness where I have no power, but I will also accept the power that is mine to receive. And that is today's language of letting go. Some final comments. Jamie says, you can't go wrong with good connection. That is the truth. Big time. Connection is key. Building our groups and our connections and our families, whether it is our family by blood or the families that become our family, is paramount. You can't go wrong with a good connection, indeed. And Teeter says, I know what it is. LOL. So, the Thursday night episode, something called The Journey Continues. That's because we were going to have a conversation about internal family systems. Unfortunately, the person I was going to interview for Thursday could not make Thursday night, so that'll be scheduled over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll let you know when exactly that interview is. So Thursday right now can be a conversation about all of the topics we've talked about thus far, or something that pops up. Keep an eye out to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch to figure out exactly what that topic is. But before I go, let's talk again about the MS Walk, about what's coming in Media, Pennsylvania on April 23rd. In the sense that we are raising money for the National MS Society through A Venture to a Cure, the team that I've created for the MS Walk in Media, Pennsylvania. And you can raise money along with me and join the team along with me at rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion a day. Again, MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867. Or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Kind of goes back to what I was saying on the last episode. If I could walk 3 miles, then I can definitely take a look at running 13.1. And that's what's going down in 19 days. Can't believe it's happening, but it is. And I am really, really excited. So let's do this for sure. But until next time, I'm going to say the same thing I say at the end of every Venture Forward and VF Talks. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. We'll see you again Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the next episode of the Venture Forward. Have an incredible night. I love you all, and fly be free.